to another gameplay news and stuff video. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you who have subscribed. Thank you very much for doing that, and to all of you who have left great comments. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. It's welcome as ever. Really makes the whole experience of creating videos like this worthwhile. Before I go any further, I hope that anyone who watches this is doing well, that their family, their friends and their acquaintances are also doing well, and that you are still taking whatever preventative measures you can against COVID-19, which is still present. It's sometimes easy to forget that it's there because it's been going on for so long, but it's still just there and present and as dangerous as ever. So do what is best for you. Right, so this video is going to showcase some gameplay from The Last of Us Part 2. Yes, you lucky people. So I'd like to warn you that if you've got a bit of a nervous disposition, you don't like horror films or things like that, then perhaps this isn't going to be such a good one for you to watch, and you might want to avoid it. But if you're okay with any of that dark, gritty stuff, then by all means continue to watch it. And so it'll also hopefully give people a better impression, of those who haven't played it, a little bit of impression of what it's like. So this, I don't want to go into the plot so much and the story, but what's going on here is Ellie has a companion, and at the moment she has a general kind of quest, if you like, a revenge vendetta against some people on a list. Now, I'm not going to really tell you why, just in case you haven't watched the editorial or aren't aware of the full story. So we're picking up the action from a segment where they've been forced into an area where there are lots of infected, so you can see all the spores, and Ellie is wearing a mask even though she doesn't actually need to wear one, because we know from the first game that she's immune. But the reason she is doing that is because she doesn't want anybody to know that. So now I'm just going to scurry around and look for resources. What I'm hoping also to find while I'm doing this are collectibles that I have missed. So this is a gameplay plus playthrough. I've already played the game all the way through 3 times, and I'm in the process of getting some trophies, so I want to upgrade all of her equipment, which I've done. All of the equipment for both of the main characters that are playable in the game, who are Ellie and Abby, and all their skills and all the collectibles you can find in the game. So, oh dear, what's happened here? Oh, see, these were attacked by some new variations, new variants on the infected, who have kind of poisonous spore clouds, is the best way to do it. They're very acidic and they burn through everything. So yes, there are even more dangerous variations of the infected in The Last of Us Part 2 to deal with. I'm hoping the audio comes out relatively well. I've had real problems with picking up a humming sound from the PlayStation 4. I've got various microphones, headsets, etc., and all of them seem to have had this issue. It's something to do with the PlayStation 4 not being grounded. It's earthed, because I'm in the UK, so the electricity is earthed already via the plug. I have put it in a surge protection plug system, but none of that seemed to be helping with certain type of microphones, headphones with inline microphones. So I actually found that it is resolved using a 3.5mm jack headphone set that is from Sony, that I use for my mobile phone, which is a pretty good mobile phone, so I've got very good headphones, and they have a mic in it. But I'm also aware that the microphone isn't the best. It's not the same microphone that I use for my reviews by any means. So hopefully it's bearable. I'll try and tweak it as much as I can, and most importantly, there shouldn't be a perpetual sound, which is just driving me nuts. Okay, so let's see what's behind this. One thing I like about Last of Us Part 2 is you could just, well, I think it was a feature in the remastered version, I'm not sure. But you can just hold down the button rather than having...
Okay.
Hold down the button rather than... Oh. That didn't work. Rather than tap it consistently. Things like that.
It looks clear, as far as I can see.
Well,
good.
Clear doesn't mean it is actually clear.
Shamblers? As if the others weren't bad enough. Guess that's nature for you. Yeah, well, nature's an asshole.
So talking about the new variations of infected that we found so far on our journey. So the news, well, there are two big things I wanted to talk, well, a few things I wanted to talk about, but I suppose the most important, and it's no secret at all, is PlayStation 5. Doesn't it look absolutely amazing? I know people have said it looks like a router, things like that, but I actually think it looks pretty damn awesome, and I can't wait to get my hands on one. And of course, the channel will be progressing to eventually covering PlayStation 5 games as we go into the next generation, but I will also continue to review PlayStation 4 games, so don't worry, there's so many I haven't reviewed that I've got a backlog, and there are plenty to review, so I'll continue to do that. There is something I wanted to talk about that I didn't cover in either the review or the editorial. This was because after I had finished the review, but before I did the editorial, I then watched two videos. That tick, by the way, that you might have seen on that collectible just shows that I've already collected it, which is a feature of the Game Plus. You can, I think you can toggle it or in the options, and it will tell you whether you've collected certain the collectible before or not. Anyway, so I'd watched two videos on The Last of Us. One by The Critical Drinker. I'll put that up on the screen. I strongly suggest people watch that video because I think it's one of the most balanced pieces that I've seen on The Last of Us Part 2. I really thought it was very good. It wasn't just slamming this game just for the sake of slamming it. It's a very cool video.
Hey.
And he's also
doesn't this look like the lady from the Scar graffiti? Yeah.
So that's one, and the second one, among others, but the second one that was noteworthy, but for the wrong reasons, was a video by Angry Joe. Now, Angry Joe, who many of you are probably acquainted with, I really like his stuff. He puts so much effort into the production of his... Give me a soda and the code is yours. Right. Let's have a look. Aha. We've got here. So it says 5152 and then 2 spaces, but that seems to be a 5, but it can't be. Oh, it's not. It's 152. The code is 152. Okay, enough hints. If you can't figure us out, I'm with the wrong man. So it's 152 something, and that's the code on the door. Here, let's have a look. This might take a bit of time. Oh, there you go. Genius.
How'd you do that?
First time. So, in, as I was saying, Angry Joe does, some really great stuff and puts an awful lot of effort into it, but as much as I appreciate the viewpoint that he had for some of the negative criticisms he had about the game, which were largely to do with the story, which again is personal, so I had no qualms with that. What ruined that review for me was that he had emphasized something that's just not true. And this was that he lampooned, if you like, the idea that Abby, the other character in the game, gets all the best equipment and loot, and Ellie doesn't get anything. So he made what I think was comical, but it didn't work because it wasn't true. If it had been true about the game, then it would have been, for me, hilarious. But because it wasn't, I couldn't find it funny, because I was just thinking, well, this is just, it's not true. And the fact of the matter is that on balance, between Ellie and Abby, Ellie gets the best stuff. There's just no two ways about it. Now, the only thing that might be a qualm is that Ellie's stuff is all familiar to us, because it's all tied to the same stuff she had in the first game. But that's great, because that's what we're familiar with, and we're familiar with in the context of a character. But I can quickly demonstrate. For instance, Ellie gets a proper sniper rifle. Abby doesn't get a sniper rifle. Abby gets a crossbow, which initially is quite stable, but Ellie's bow, once you've upgraded it fully, is just as stable, and both have alternate, Abby's crossbow and Ellie's bow both have alternate fire modes. Abby gets a double-barreled shotgun, but Ellie has a shotgun. Later on, Ellie gets this, a silenced submachine gun. Abby doesn't get one of those. In terms of equipment, well, I've got to craft some anyway here. Hold on, I haven't done it. Ellie has the most useful piece of kit in The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, molotovs. Without a shadow of a doubt, the best. Abby doesn't get them. Ellie gets trap mines, the best new piece of equipment there is in the game. So if I get a chance to show you how they work, they're basically just trip mines, and Abby doesn't get those either. So is it true that Ellie doesn't get anything and Abby gets all the cool new stuff? No, it isn't. It isn't at all, not by a long shot. And that really grated me. So it's not to put people off watching Angry Joe's video, because it's so well produced, and he says a lot of other things that you might might agree with, might not agree with. But in that particular case, I don't know why he did it. It did annoy me, because I thought, well, now I'll be able to give you an example here. We have a lot of expected, so we're going to get the trap mines out.
We got this.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put it here. Come on. Get the Molotov out. Where is it? Come on, move. Oh, you sneaky git. Go on, move, move, move. It's behind there, can you see? throw it and hope. Let's do it. Shotgun out. There. So useful. Oh. And that's that acidic gas. Just get out of that.
Okay. I'm ready to get out of here. Same.
Oh. See, even when you've played through it, just like the first one, it's still intense. It can still get really intense, even if you know what you're doing. The atmosphere in this game is absolutely incredible. The way they build it, just like in the first game. And sometimes the infected come out of these things. So yes, that's two things in terms of news. Of course, the coronavirus has caused lots of chaos in terms of release dates and things. Ghost of Tsushima, I am planning on getting it, but not just yet. I think there's an awful lot of videos and things out there already on it, and it looks to be very well received. It's not that I don't want to play, it's not that I'm not interested in it, but at the moment all my attention is making sure I've got enough financial reserves for the next leap, if you like. So if in the coming months it's on sale or something like that, I may get it ahead of time. But of course I will get it at some point and I will review it. But as I said, I've got so many other games to review at the moment. Some games that I think should be reviewed on my channel. And that's what I intend to do. I don't tend to use the torch so much. I know I should. Probably because it's a lot spookier when you can't really see what's going on. It's so much more atmospheric. I'm hoping that you can see well if you can get this running on 1080, you should be able to see it clearly enough. I think that's back to where we began. But it's important to keep looting in this game. I'll also point out that I'm not actually playing it on an extremely difficult level. I'm just playing it on a fairly moderate level. Because I'm concentrating on the skills and upgrades. But I think when I've got everything completely upgraded and all the skills, I may try it on the hardest difficulty. One thing that annoys me though is there isn't a trophy incentive for playing it on the hardest difficulty setting, which baffled me a little bit. There should be a trophy for doing it if you're going to go through all of that and bother. I know it's just a small thing, but you know, as gamers, we're all very quirky. I get upset about the most silly things, really. Right, I think we've managed to survive that. Let's see what happens next. All the doors, by the way. Stop.
One sec. There.
It looks like we're on the way out because I can see daylight. Now, I have played it 3 times through. Because the game's substantial and quite long, it's quite interesting how much you don't actually remember, or you only remember it when you start playing through it again, a section of the game, if you understand. So it all seems relatively new and fresh. Again, having a to gander around. There is verticality in this game. In some areas it's easy to miss things.
What the hell happened here?
I'm gonna say some kind of train crash.
Thanks, Sherlock.
Naughty Dog does that so well. Little exchanges between characters. Not to say that other games don't have that, but they really know how to tell a story. And as the story, well, as I think I made it clear in the review and the editorial, I don't have a problem with the story at all. In fact, it's better this way, because I think if we had, as I said, I think in the editorial or the review, I think in the editorial, if Naughty Dog had played it safe and just did another story about Ellie and Joel doing whatever, although it would have been enjoyable, of course we've all enjoyed it, I think, or people who enjoyed the first one would have enjoyed it, let me put it that way. I think
Jesus.
we would have
I wonder how
come
long
back.
they kept these running past Outbreak Day.
I see some light up that way.
Up we go then.
Is there anything in here? No. I think it would eventually come to a realization that even though it was good, it was pretty much the same stuff. Oh, I don't know if I've been here before. I haven't. And see, now there is a collectible there that I haven't collected. It hasn't got a tick. So this was worthwhile. This was very worthwhile. Look at that. You see, that would have been so easy to miss. And it is one of those games that if you should really kind of try and take your time, especially on the first playthrough. But I think it is generally a game like that. I know that people try and speed run everything now, but there's not much designers and game developers can do about that. I mean, this game, as many of you will be aware, took 7 years to make. So it really wasn't designed for people to blitz
Dino?
Yeah,
in a couple of hours. But people do. They just run through it like their lives depend upon it. And I think if you do that, if you rush through it deliberately, you're going to end up missing so much. And look at the attention to detail and everything that's going on here. The water dripping from the clock and everything. The level designers have just gone out of their way to do this as well as they can. And of course everything's improved. If we just look at something like this wall, the detailing on the wall, the variation in the tiles, how the tiles actually maybe, well, you see that three-dimensional effect of the tiles, that might actually be meshes layered. But the wall, this section here rather than that section there, that looks three-dimensional because of an effect, what's called a bitmap, and mucking around with that to give it a three-dimensional look. But all of these things, this level of attention to detail and the detailing achieved is testament to how far we've actually come in terms of the software and the hardware and everything. And it's only going to get better and relatively easy because it's hard work to get this level of detail and be consistent with it in a game as large as The Last of Us Part 2. There's no two ways about it. It's a lot of hours. And as we go into the next generation and beyond, that level of detail will be easier and easier to implement, is what I'm trying to say. doesn't mean they won't need to put in the effort, but it won't be, I don't envisage it being as hard as it has been. I mean, 15 years ago, it would have been impossible to have a game with this level of detail running on a console. It's as simple as that. It just didn't have the processing power. Unless you wanted the game to run at 1 frame a second or something like that, then it might have done it. But yeah, not at 30 or 60. I think this might actually be at 60 or frames per second. But 60 frames per second is a bit of a, well, irrelevant in certain respects, because film, proper film, is only 24 frames per second anyway. So there may be a reason for it, I can't quite remember, but 30 frames per second is already 6 frames quicker than a film. I can't really understand why you need to keep upgrading the frame rate.
Closer to light.
Alright. Let's get up there.
Hey, let me get you up there.
Yeah.
Let's get out of
What
this
you got?
creepy place.
Come on. Okay. Let's rally. We're almost out. Lead on.
Doesn't sound particularly good. I can't tell if that's creaking metal or some horrific creature coming after us. It doesn't look like we are out of it yet. Oh, that doesn't sound good. Well, needless to say, our compadres just about managed to get through that. Into what's left of the world. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Take care.